Good afternoon, this is Lynx. A lot of times when I work with people through hypnosis and I do hypnosis with people, I'll demonstrate before we begin how powerful their minds are. And sometimes I'll do a couple of exercises that shows them and demonstrates exactly how powerful their minds are. So maybe I'll hypnotize them to put their hands together and hold their hands together, and as they focus on their hands and their hands are crossed, they suddenly realize that no matter how hard they try, they cannot pull their hands apart. And no matter what they do in those situations, they can't pull their hands apart. Their hands become completely stuck. Or sometimes I'll hypnotize someone to have a hand stuck to a table or a wall or their face, and they can't take it off. Or to forget a number, and then so like maybe they forget the number 4, and then when they count their fingers they have 11 fingers. In each one of these cases, it's the belief that makes the reality. So in each one of those cases, they believe that they can't move their hand, they can't pull their hands apart, they have no number 4. It's the internal belief that makes the experience. It's that way with love. I once had a client who had a psychic or some kind of healer or someone tell him that this woman that he was with was perfect for him and that she would make him stronger. And she was an alcoholic and very destructive. And the more that they were together, the weaker he got. But the authority had convinced him, the psychic authority had convinced him that he was destined to be with this person, and this person would at some point make him stronger, despite the fact that everything in the reality was tearing him down. It was completely, he was losing it. I've also seen psychiatrists and doctors tell people who were perfectly fine that they had diseases, and suddenly this disease took over their life, that there was no disease, but they had been convinced by the authority that they could not pull their hands apart, no matter what they tried. And so they took more pills and got more therapy and whatever, and no matter what they did, they still couldn't pull their hands apart because the therapist had told them they're sick, they're sick, they're sick. When in actuality, it was just something in their belief system that needed to be shifted. They weren't really sick. And in some cases, there was nothing wrong with them really to begin with, until the parent, the school, the psychologist had told them they were sick, and then suddenly they were labeled, and this became their whole reality. This happens with our relationships as well. We go into these relationships believing that there's certain characters that we must find in our relationships. There's people out there who believe that they have to find the knight in shining armor, and no matter what, they continue to look for the knight in shining armor. Or there's those who believe that they are destined to be with the authoritarian or the stern individual who's going to manage them. Or there's those men who believe there's the women out there are just, they're going to prey on them and they're going to kill them. They're going to, just like a spider, they're going to latch hold. These beliefs, just like this belief and just like the belief of the therapist who tells the person who's not sick that they're sick, or the psychic who told this individual that this woman was going to bring him great strength even though she was draining him. These beliefs, the thing these all have in common is that these beliefs create our reality. It doesn't mean necessarily that they're true. It just means that we have convinced ourselves that this is the nature of reality. And what we convince ourselves sometimes is the nature of reality is not necessarily truly, is usually not really the nature of reality. So my reason for this video is to ask yourself, what characters are you expecting to show up in your fairy tale? And is it realistic to have those characters? And what would happen, say, if you peopled it with some other characters that might be more appropriate and might help you to make yourself more happy? For example, instead of the knight, maybe you're the one who rides the horse, And maybe in so doing, you draw someone to you who's more appropriate, instead of the authoritarian or the one who's going to protect and mold you and guide you. Or maybe that idea just needs to have a visit from death, and it allows you to sort of emerge with your talents and your strengths so that you can blossom on your own right, and then draw someone to you who's willing to appreciate the bouquet that you blossom into. Or maybe instead of the wicked spider, maybe that one needs to be buried as the mummy, and maybe you need to realize that there's a part of you that you're wrapping yourself up in to defend yourself because you're afraid of being vulnerable, or you're afraid of actually experiencing something and you're covering your heart. And maybe in so doing, a visit from the mummy allows you to unwrap yourself and to actually see the treasure that you buried a long, long time ago. So to sum this up, in relationships, and when you're dealing with relationships, and when you're looking for relationships, realize that your beliefs have everything to do with your reality. Just like in hypnosis, the person who believes they cannot pull their hands apart no matter how hard they try, they cannot do so. The individual who has a teacher tell her or him that they're stupid grows up believing that they're stupid, and no matter how hard they try, they can't change that belief because teacher said. Maybe somewhere in your relationships, as you ask yourself about relationships and the kind of relationships, why relationships aren't working, or what you would like out of a relationship, or how you would like to change your relationship history, maybe it's time to examine the characters that you believe are supposed to be in your fairy tale, and what characters you can bring in to change your story and change your beliefs so that your reality changes. And what is very obvious to most of the world suddenly becomes very obvious to you. I'm Lucky Lynx, as always, wishing you success and good fortune in all that you do. If you'd like to get a relationship reading, 779-302-8009 or conjurehope@gmail.com. If you'd like some of these unusual ideas to be part of your abilities and canon in how you read, then why not sign up for a virtual class? I have a tarot class, I have a Lenormand class, I have a playing card class, and a crystal ball reading class. And if you have enjoyed these videos and want to donate, I will put my PayPal and my Venmo below. You can feel free to donate to help keep these going, and I hope they continue to help you. Those of you who have donated, you've been extremely generous, and I'm very grateful for what you have given. Enjoy your weekend, enjoy your relationships, and remember, just because we think that there's supposed to be a certain number of characters in our life doesn't mean that we can't change the story, and it doesn't mean that we can't bring other characters in to help us have a better read and a better experience.